Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a very fascinating, terrifying, and entertaining upload to share with you. Before we get into that, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. They are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to those are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? Before we get into today's upload, I did get a message from Victor. He is kind of out of cell service, but spotty at best, I guess we'll say. Which, if you did hear my upload with the subscriber from Alaska, she stated that cell service is spotty at best as well up there, sometimes none. I guess he is on his way as we speak to Portage right now. To check out the area. He's a little nervous, he stated. It's a completely different thing that he's used to. He is now a civilian, so with his sons. So hopefully we get some sort of good experience from him. Hopefully he makes it back okay. I know that this trip is kind of taxing on him because with his dialysis, he's got to go back and forth. So he's not really out in the wilderness as much as he'd like to be. So yeah, it's pretty much like a vacation trip for him. He's kind of like the tourist out in the middle of Manhattan with a camera. But if I do hear any more from him, I'll keep you guys all in the loop. All right, so because he's in Alaska, I got a little bit of a Alaskan theme going on today. Let's check this out. Today's first part of the upload. I'm not sure exactly if it was a Kushtaka or not. My husband and I were up in Alaska with his side of the family at an Airbnb in Wasilla, right next to a lake. For the most part, we stayed there uneventfully, but there were still a few things that happened that we still cannot explain. The first night, I'm not sure what my husband was thinking, but he decided to whistle at night. He regretted doing that the rest of the week and didn't do it again. Almost immediately after we heard a baby cry. Keep in mind, we don't have any kids staying with us. We thought maybe it was the TV, but nothing was on, and we were all alone. Everyone else was either asleep or out of the house. Then, I kid you not, all the motion detection lights flipped on and the cries stopped. At this point, we're a little freaked out, but still in denial. Unfortunately, it kept happening throughout the week we were there. Eventually, even all my in-laws heard it. Then, on the second to last night, my husband and I woke up at around 2 a.m. and heard a huge bang against the window above our heads. Could have been a wild animal, but still, we got the message. I don't think my husband is ever going to whistle at night again after this. Now, I'm sure everybody, or if you are wondering, what the hell is a Kushtaka, Jeff? Well, I was wondering that myself, and I found a little bit of information to share with you guys, which is super fascinating. The media in the regions as distant as Latin America and Russia has devoted its attention to the legend of the Kushtaka lately. A supposed Alaskan giant primate, familiar to the Asian Yeti and the North American Bigfoot, to whom the indigenous Tlingit call the Otter Man. Newspapers like the El Universal or the Zocalo in Mexico or in Russia's agency Sputnik are following this story. Kushtaka is believed to have arrived in America from Asia, where the Yeti allegedly lives in Nepal. It crossed the Bering Strait in the last ice age like the ancestors of the Native American peoples and certain animal species. Some of these primates settled in Alaska, the Kushtaka. Others went down to what is now California or Oregon. They have also been seen in Arkansas and on the East Coast, Florida, Louisiana, or North Carolina, Bigfoot. The institutions that have investigated these creatures find no clear evidence of their existence, but there are witnesses, among them police officers and sheriffs who have claimed to see them. In 1967, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin recorded a Bigfoot in Northern California for a few moments. The film was made in celluloid stock, 16 years before the first digital video came out. Therefore, it is impossible to manipulate the images. After 53 years of analysis, no one has been able to cast doubt on its authenticity. The Kushtaka has already been featured in articles in the American and international press, from the French newspaper Le Matin to the Hindu, the Indian Express. When in 2013 the New York actor Charlie Sheen flew over Alaska hoping to find it. There are 5 important facts to know about otters. They are believed to be one of the most intelligent non-human species on the planet. There is evidence that they have endured for more than 30 million years. They have been known to create tools. Every continent except Australia and Antarctica has an otter population, and if the legendary southeastern Alaskan Kushtaka is any indication, they would also steal your soul. The Tlingit peoples, indigenous inhabitants of the Pacific Northwest coast of the United States and southeastern Alaska, have a robust folklore surrounding a mythical and maniacal trickster race called the Kushtaka, which roughly translates to land otter people, a shape-shifting species of otter that is rumored to spend a lot of time trying to lure unsuspected humans away from their homes in order to try to turn them into more Kushtaka, which, in the Tlingit folklore, basically amounts to preventing us from achieving reincarnation and a everlasting life. Sometimes they don't bother and simply tear the victim to shreds. Not cool. Bad otter. The Kushtaka has been treated in some literature as the boogeyman or hobgoblin. This is inaccurate and does not honor how seriously the Tlingit people feel about the threat of the land otter people. In a sense, the Kushtaka deprived the victim of everlasting life, for his soul could not be reincarnated. The land otter lurked to save, that is, to capture those who drowned or who become lost in the woods. The unfortunate captives are taken by the land otter people to their homes or dens and, unless rescued by a shaman, were themselves turned into a land otter. Kushtaka often appeared in the form of relatives or friends to confuse a victim. Dogs were protection against land otter people, for not only were the animals afraid of dogs, but the dogs barking forced the land otter people to reveal themselves. Small children were thought to be the most in danger of being captured by the land otter people, and were warned not to wander off from their parents, to venture too far away from home. Despite the fact that the Kushtaka are considered evil and overwhelmingly regarded with a certain level of trepidation, perhaps because otters are just so damn cute and fuzzy, there are instances of benevolent behavior on the part of the Kushtaka. While they are generally and are credited with merrily tricking the sailors further offshore, imitating the cries of an infant, or screams of a woman to lure helpless victims into the river, or preying on small children. Occasionally, a tale is told of a Kushtaka saving lost individuals from freezing to death in the Alaskan wilderness or freezing oceans by conveniently transforming them into a Kushtaka. But more often, they are not, and they are just very cruel. Consider the Tlingit folktale called the Land Otters Captive, recorded by John Swanton of the Bureau of American Anthology. Several persons went out to the Sitka together when their canoe capsized, and they were all drowned except a man. The canoe came for this man, and he thought it contained his friends, but they were really land otters. They started southward with him and kept going further and further until they passed a clear round the Queen Charlotte Island. At every place where they stopped, they took in a female land otter. All this time they kept a mat made out of a broad piece of kelp over the man they had captured until at length they arrived at a place they called the Rainy Village. At this place the man met an aunt who had been drowned years before and become the wife of two of the land otters. She was dressed in a groundhog robe. Then she said to him, "Your aunt's husband will save you. You must come to see me this evening." When he came, his aunt said, "I can't leave these people, for I have learned to think a great deal about them." Afterward, his aunt's husband started back with him. They did not camp until midnight. Their canoe was a skate, and as soon as they came ashore, they would turn it over on top of him so that no matter how hard he tried to get out, he could not. In making the passage across to Cape Omeni, they worked very hard, and shortly after they landed, they heard a raven. They could only go a short distance for food. When they first started back, the women had said to their husbands, "Do not leave him where he had been captured again. Take him to a good place." So they left him close to Sitka. Then he walked around in a neighborhood of town and made the people suffer so much every night that they could not sleep, and was determined to capture him. They fixed a rope in such a way as to ensnare him, but at first they were unsuccessful. Finally, however, they placed dog bones in the rope so that they would stick into his hands, dog bones being the greatest enemies of land otters. Late that night, the land otter man tore his hands so with these bones that he sat down and began to scream, and while doing this, they got the rope around him and captured him. When they got him home, he was at first very wild, but they restored his reason by cutting his head with dog bones. He was probably not so far gone as most victims. Then they learned what happened to him. After this time, however, he would always eat his meat and fish raw. Once, when he was among the halibut fishers, they wanted very much to have him eat some cooked halibut. He was such a good halibut fisher, probably having learned the art from the land otter people. Though he did not say so, for a long time the man refused to take any, but at last consented, and the food killed him. In case you are under the mistaken impression that the Kushtaka sightings are ancient history, in the 1900s, a gold prospector named Harry Culp and 3 companions exploring the Patterson Glacier north of Thomas Bay, known locally as the Devil's Country, and called the Bay of Death by the native Tlingit, due to a 1750 landslide that killed 500 villagers, incidentally attributed to the Meshanish or malevolent Kushtaka, returned with a tale of a disturbing encounter with a Kushtaka. Culp wrote of his encounter. But the manuscript he had penned was not discovered until after his death by his daughter, and has since been reproduced as the strangest story ever told. Here's an excerpt. I left the next morning, which was a fine sunny day. I took only a rifle with me, and when I came to the ridge, sure enough, there were a few grouse shooting. I shot 2 and had gotten them when I bagged another one, which fell down from the ridge about 100 yards before it hung up. While on my way to pick it up, I found a piece of quartz. Up to that time, I had paid very little attention to what this country looked like, as it was so heavily timbered and brushy. The formation did not show up, and I had no tools with me to uncover it. The top of an old snag had broken off and fallen, scraping the top moss and loose dirt for a space about 8 feet wide and 18 or 20 feet long, uncovering this quartz ledge, which is where I found this piece. This ledge was worked smooth by the glacier at one time. I couldn't find anything to break a piece off with, so I used the butt of my rifle to get a piece. In doing so, I broke the stock of my gun, thus ruining it from further use. This didn't worry me any, as I knew there were no game in the area. Larger than grouse, and damned few of them. My first thought was of the richness of the quartz, and of you fellows, and getting back to town to round you all up so we could get busy on it. After looking over and enjoying the feeling of knowing I had made a rich find, I covered the ledge again with moss, limbs, and rotten chunks. Finishing that job, I thought I would climb the ridge directly over the ledge to get my landmarks, so I could come back to it again, or tell you where it was if anything should happen to me. This I did, climbing straight over the ledge onto the ridge till I reached the top, which was about 600 feet above where I found the ledge. I looked down below me and picked out a big tree with a bushy top, taller than the rest and about 50 feet to the right of the ledge. Looking over the top of this tree from where I stood, I could see out to Frederick Sound, Cape of Straight Light, and the point of Vanderput Spit, point of Vanderput. And turning a little to the left, I could see Kodiak Island from the mouth of the Wrangell Narrows. Satisfied with that, I turned halfway around to get back to the site on some mountain peaks, and lying below me on the other side of the ridge from the ledge was a half-moon lake the Indian had told me about. Right there, fellows, I got the scare of my life. I hope to God I never see or go through the likes of it again. Swarming up the ridge toward me from the lake were the most hideous creatures. I couldn't call them anything but devils, as they were neither man nor monkey, yet looked like both. They were entirely sexless, their body covered in long, coarse hair, except where the scabs and running sores had replaced it. Each one seemed to be reaching out for me and striving to be the first to get me. The air was full of their cries, and the stench from their sores and bodies made me faint. I forgot my broken gun and tried to use it on the first one, and then I threw it at them and turned and ran. God, how did I run? I could feel their hot breath on my back, their long, claw-like fingers scraping my back. The smell from their steaming, stinking bodies was making me sick, while the noise they made, yelling, screaming, and breathing, drove me mad. Reason left me. How I reached the canoe and how I hung on to that piece of quartz is a mystery to me. When I came to, it was night, and I was lying in the bottom of my canoe, drifting between Thomas Bay and Kodiak Island, cold, hungry, crazy for a drink of water. But only to satisfy the latter urge, I started for Wrangell, and here I am. You no doubt think I'm either crazy or lying. All I can say is, there is the quartz. Never let me hear the name of Thomas Bay again, and for God's sakes help me get away tomorrow on the boat. An excerpt from the strangest story ever told, handwritten manuscript, Culp, MS, 140, Alaskan State Library. Now, how does such a screamingly adorable fuzzy head like the otter get mixed up in sort of soul-eating behavior, you may ask? I mean, for God's sakes, otters hold each other's paws when they are swimming and cover their eyes as they swim on their backs napping. They ooze cuteness. The Tibetan symbol for universal love involves a pairing of 6 traditional enemies: the Gardua, the snow lion, the otter, the fish, the crocodile, and the sea snail. According to a Ojibwe legend, an otter is entrusted with secrets of the Grand Medicine Society. Zoroastrians hold ceremonies to honor dead otters they find in the wild and consider it an act against nature and their gods to kill one. Otters are widely regarded as fun-loving, industrious, sociable creatures. How do we reconcile the soul-stealing, flesh-rendering, child-kidnapping monstrosity that is the Kushtaka with an insufferable, whimsical creature that launched 1,000 children's stories like The Wind of Willows, or inspired the American naturalist Ernest Thompson Seton to say, "The joyful, keen, and fearless otter, mild and loving to his own kind and gentle with his neighbor of the stream, full of play and gladness in his life, full of courage in his stress, ideal in his home, steadfast in death, the noblest little soul that ever went 4-footed through the woods." The trickster element of the Kushtaka is understandable, as one can imagine the playful otter pranking people with abandon. But that does not account for the more malevolent aspects that appear to be more central to the Kushtaka legend. A few people have begun to suspect the otter of hiding depravity and criminal insanity, such as Richard Martin of Coast and Kayak magazine, who said otters exhibit no self-control, no family value, and practice lots of kinky sex, the dark side of sea otters, 1997. But Mr. Martin is in the minority. Due to a direct association to the Tlingit shamanist, one who manages to escape the land otter people and return home is regarded as prime shaman material. Also, some Kushtaka myths allow for humans to have been turned into Kushtaka to occasionally return home to their village and provide assistance to relatives. The Kushtaka represents a symbolic link between the living and the dead, as observed by anthropologist Ken Burridge. The most significant confrontation with truth and reality amongst traditional societies is death, how you die. When you die and where you go when you die are cross-culturally fraught as significance. In a harsh environment like the Alaskan wilderness or coast, death can come suddenly and unexpectedly, and bodies may never be recovered. Tlingit treatment of corpses is cosmologically significant in that they believe with proper preparation a dead person's spirit is reincarnated back into the clan lineage. An unrecovered corpse presents a significant problem. Does the Tlingit individual who disappeared in a blizzard or drowned at sea get reincarnated despite the lack of a proper ceremony? Problem solved by saying that unrecovered fatality has gone to the land of the Otter people. The application of this theory to those who are psychologically troubled, they are regarded as having been captured by Otter people, but were not completely turned into the Kushtaka, further suggests that is a symbolic means of dealing with the marginal either socially or ritually. So next time you're at the zoo admiring the antics of the playful otters as they slip and slide, look for a little gleam in their eyes that says, "I may be cute, but I'll eat your soul for dinner and drag you away to a den of the land of the Otter people where I will vampirically turn you into one of us." Otters have had it too easy for far too long. They know they're cute and they will use it against us. As William Burroughs said, like most qualities, cuteness is delineated. by what is not. Most people aren't cute at all. Or, if so, they quickly outgrow their cuteness. Elegance, grace, delicacy, beauty, and the lack of self-consciousness. A creature who knows he is cute soon is not. They will come for you. An incredible, fascinating cryptid. One that has not been heard of by many of us, or maybe you guys have heard it and I haven't, but it's pretty friggin' interesting. I know that before I recorded this, I have read about an hour and a half about these things, and they are not small like otters. Please don't think they are small. They are huge, like a Sasquatch, like a Bigfoot, considered to be a relative of Sasquatch by some. And dangerous. Almost like I sat here thinking, and I was like, wow, these things are crazy. And part of me, I'm not looking at them like otter people. I am and I'm not, if you get my drift. But what I'm looking at is the whole broad spectrum and kind of saying, holy shit, Jeff. This is a Sasquatch that has shamanistic capabilities. This is a very dangerous creature. Like a skinwalker, a human being is a shaman and can transform. They are dangerous. Sasquatches are dangerous just without having shamanistic capabilities. Give them some shamanistic capabilities and they will fuck your day up for good. Totally fascinating. Just I don't know. I hope you guys actually enjoyed this because I did. And it's a legend. It's just like Dogman, Sasquatch. People have seen these things. Policemen. I'm actually looking for a couple of I contacted a couple people that live in Alaska and asked them if they've ever heard of this. But I'm going to contact someone that I'm pretty sure has, hopefully, and maybe they can shed some light on this with us because it got me. Made me smile, actually. It just today's upload is the ones that make me happy because I learned something that I never knew before. And I hope that you guys feel that same way. So, anyway, with that, I want to bid you all farewell. I want to thank you all for your support. It truly, truly means the world to me. You guys rock. This channel would not be where it is if it wasn't for you. And with that, all I can say is be kind to each other. See ya!